Welcome to the Lee Schools TV podcast. I'm Adam Wright. Joining us today is Charles Morrison, the U.S. History and African American History teacher at East Lee County High School. Charles, thanks for coming on the podcast.
Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. And so we want to have you on because you were just named the winner of the Dr. Theron Trimble Florida Social Studies Teacher of the Year for high school, awarded by the Florida Council for the Social Studies. Congratulations.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And yes, I was just awarded.
So the Dr. Theron Trimble Florida Social Studies Teacher of the Year, what can you tell me about this award? Is this something that you were completely surprised by, or is it something that you applied for, or how does it work, and what's the award all about?
Okay, so the initial nomination for the county, you have to be nominated by someone within the district. And I was nominated. And after that point, when I won it for our district, they select three, one for elementary, one for middle, one for high school. And once I moved past that, the next step was to apply for the state level. And I ended up receiving it for the state level.
Oh, congratulations. And so somebody nominated you originally?
Yes.
Do you know who it was, or is it kind of kept secret?
Yeah, well, I never figured it out.
No?
Never figured it out.
So whoever you are, they're out there somewhere. So then you had to, what was the process like? Did they interview you, or what was the application like?
So it was a pretty extensive application, and it just talked about how do you exemplify and, kind of drill and teach the importance and the significance of history and what creative things you do within the classroom so that students pick up on that.
All right, we'll get to maybe some of the things you do in the classroom in a little bit, but I did print out a little bit about what the award is about, and so the purpose of the award is to recognize exceptional social studies teachers in elementary, middle, and high, and you were awarded and this is the whole state of Florida, so you're the only winner for the high school level for the entire state of Florida, right? Yeah. So it says a nominee, some of the criteria is a nominee develops or uses instructional materials creatively and effectively, incorporates innovative and verified instructional strategies and techniques, utilizes the interrelated themes of culture, time, continuity, and change, people, places, environment, fosters a spirit of inquiry and skills, fosters the development of democratic beliefs and values, shows evidence of professional involvement in outside activities. So that's just a little bit of background of what was required for the award. Now, the award ceremony was just a few days ago, right? October 19th in Orlando, right?
Yes, sir.
So that's where you received the award. What was that like?
It was great. There was also a conference attached to it. Mm-hmm. And so it's a bunch of former educators and teachers and professionals that come in, and they kind of give their own best practices and resources and tools that you can use. And, the organization is just about, like I said, trying to instill the, importance and significance of history to students.
Yeah. So you are, if you're just listening to the podcast, if you're not watching the video version on Facebook or YouTube, you're a young guy. You haven't been teaching very long.
No.
Is this your first year teacher, second year? How long?
No, this is my third year.
Third year. Okay. All right. So you started right after school?
Right after college.
Yeah. Where'd you go to college?
University of Florida.
Dude, my man. That's where I went too. All right. Go Gators.
Go Gators.
So yeah. All right. So this is your third year teaching, and you already got this, prestigious award. What did it mean to you to be awarded this?
It was a great feeling. It was truly an honor, not just, saying the cliche saying. It's great to be recognized because I do put in hard work. I try to make sure that my students not only, understand the content, but, it's something they can look forward to, be that class that a student can look forward to,
when I was in high school, I always liked going to the classes where the teachers were young. All right, so you were telling me, let's talk a little bit about yourself. You were telling me earlier that you're not from around here. Where'd you grow up?
Belglade, Florida.
Okay, where is that?
So it is what people call the Muck area. So it's like 30-something minutes away from Clewiston.
Okay. Clewiston. And you were born and raised there?
Born and raised.
Okay. And then you went to UF.
Yeah.
So what brought you, well, were you always interested in being a teacher growing up? Is that something you always wanted to do? Or how did you become a teacher?
Funny story. So in high school, I never thought that I would be a teacher. You know, I was like, oh, I just got done with school. But when I went to college, both of my sisters, they did like some type of form of computer engineering. And so when I got to UF, you know, I'm like, hey, you know, computer engineering. But, you know, I've learned fast that even though I did well in the classes, I learned fast that, you know, that just wasn't for me. I'm really big on mentoring, and I want to have an impact on students. And so I figured that, you know, I was going to teach, and I was going to try it out and see how I liked it. And I went all for it.
So were you originally a computer engineering major and then you switched majors, or?
Yes.
Yeah. How far into the major did you get before you realized it wasn't for you?
Not very far at all. I think that was my fall semester of freshman year.
So then by spring of freshman year, you were into education?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And was it always history? You knew you wanted to be a history teacher?
Yes, I loved history. That was my favorite subject in school. When I made the decision to pursue education, I was like, yeah, history is going to be the route.
Let's talk about what you teach. So you teach U.S. history and African American history. Are those two separate classes that you teach?
Yes, two separate classes.
Okay. So we've had a few U.S. history teachers on the podcast. We haven't had a teacher of African American history. And when I was in school, that was not a class that was offered, African American history. So I'm interested in kind of what you teach the students about African American history. What are some of the main pieces of history that you teach them about that?
Okay, so we start with African kingdoms. You know, basically tell them about, you know, civilization, how it arrived and everything, and then we go from the rise and fall of those kingdoms into we talk about a little bit about the wars, and then we get into slavery and enslavement, and then we get into the Atlantic slave trade and how we ended up going to the Middle Passage and how Africans came about to America, and from that point, that's when we start sort of like American U.S. history, but it takes a African American perspective on a lot of those things. So we learn about the movements, the ideologies of famous African American leaders during that time, or in African leaders as well.
So like a lot about like Frederick Douglass and Dr. King and those. So you were a big history guy. Is that something that you knew extensively about going in, or did you have to do some learning yourself? Like, did you take African American history classes at UF?
Yes, I did. Yeah, I did.
How's it going so far? You've been at East for 3 years.
Yep.
You like teaching?
I love it. You know, honestly, it's been going great. I heard all these horror stories about the first year and how, like, you know, they'll drive you out of there. But honestly, it's been nothing but amazing and getting better and better.
Yeah. It's got to be a grind, right?
Yep, always. Always.
So part of the award, we were talking about the Dr. Theron Trimble Award. You know, part of it is that you know fosters a spirit of inquiry and skills related to acquiring, organizing, and processing. Incorporates innovative and verified instructional strategies and techniques. So what are some of the things that you do in the classroom that you think helped you win this award?
So one of the things I try to do is, no matter what time period, no matter what class, I try to make sure that the content, I can make it relatable to the kids in some way, shape, or fashion. And just using, creative ways, sometimes memes. That was my way of getting them to understand. Like, for example, political cartoons. That's one big focus point in U.S. history, because that's how a lot of people back then used propaganda to show their viewpoints and, influence people. And, and I just said that's basically today's memes. Like, it's kind of the same thing. Now we kind of use it for comedic relief, but it's the same thing. It's trying to give you a message, and some of it, requires background knowledge. Some of it doesn't. And this is how we're gonna translate this information into content.
So yeah, I'm sure that helps. You relate to the students. I wanted to. So think you're the youngest teacher that we've had on, and I'm sorry to keep bringing up your age, but I'm curious, was that something that you were worried about, maybe a little bit nervous about, the fact that, you were so close in age to some of the students that you were teaching? Were you worried that, they might not take you as serious as they might, an older teacher? Was it difficult at first to, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I get you. So I did think about that my first year coming in, but honestly, the way I carried myself, no one knew. Like they always figured, they was like, oh, this teacher look kind of young, but no one, they never really knew my age, and I didn't discuss my age with students, so that never became an issue, thankfully.
Do you think it's a strength that, being a little more relatable to the students?
Yes, I think it is. I think it is.
Is there something that you are most passionate about that you teach, a certain lesson or anything like that?
I wouldn't say most passionate. I pretty much all across the board, because they all
it's very political answer.
No, but seriously, they all overlap and they're intertwined. And so, but one interesting time period of history is the Vietnam War. Yeah. Just because it's what they call the televised war, and there's a lot of pictures and videos, and kind of one of the first times where we're actually seeing into like war. People are seeing like actually what is going on in the battlefield. So I think kind of my favorite to teach.
So you, aside from teaching, I saw that you're also one of the assistant coaches on the football team.
Yes, I am.
The defensive backs coach?
Yep, defensive back.
So you played in high school, I'm assuming?
Yes, I did.
Were you a DB?
Yes, I was. I was a defensive back.
Tell me about your football background.
Okay, so I play defensive back. I started playing football ever since I was old enough to play. Still my favorite sport. And I play. I didn't want to pursue it in college. I love football, but not to the extent where, because I knew I wanted to go to the University of Florida, and I was like, my best bet is academically. So, I wasn't naive to that. Yeah.
How you feel about the team this year, Florida?
I'm happy for them. Yeah. I'm happy. We're on a good streak right now, and just a couple more hurdles. Yeah. But I'm thankful the season so far.
Yeah. It looks like we're getting. I think we look better than we have in the past couple years. Yeah. Looks like we finally got a decent quarterback now. Who can, not a big fan of Felipe Franks. Sorry, Felipe, if you're listening. I doubt it. All right. So have you been coaching on the football team for 3 years since you started, or?
Oh, no, this is my second year.
Okay.
Second year. And
what do you enjoy about coaching the football team?
I'm really big on mentoring. So one of the biggest things that I get from it's another opportunity to see the students and to see, them kind of in their world and what they are passionate about. Because when I'm in the classroom, it's kind of what I'm passionate about. And now when I take it to the football field to see how hard those kids work to, perfect their craft or get better, and just seeing them, truly having fun, and then just another opportunity to build a bond with students. So I love it. It's great to see.
So you said you're big into mentoring. What does that mean to you? What is it about being able to mentor somebody younger than you and, kind of lead by example and coach them and lead them through life? What is it about that you're passionate about?
So actually, that was one of the reasons I became a teacher. A lot of my teachers, they took on that role kind of indirectly. They never said, oh, I'm going to mentor you. But it was one of those things where naturally I looked up to people that were successful and doing, going about at least what I seen. You only see one side of a person, but going about life in a certain way. And I just wanted to be not, that role model in the classroom and outside the classroom as well. Because indirectly, whether you tell them or not, they're watching you, and they remember a lot, of how you operate and the things you do.
So do you make personal connections with a small number of some of your students, and do you mentor them after hours or anything like that?
Well, so the mentoring, it's not actually like, me like having.
Yeah, kind of meant like broadly speaking.
Yeah, broadly speaking, just but yes, I build personal relationships with all my students, like literally all my students. They all have their own unique personalities, and like learning how to tap into those is honestly one of the biggest things that allowed me to have the most success with them.
One of the most important characteristics of a good teacher is, good teacher, you can tell as a student that they care about you personally, right? If you had any, if there's any young teachers listening to this out there, and they maybe want, if you have any tips for them or advice on, some good ways to make personal connections with students, do you have any tips or anything, some things that you do that helps you make those personal connections?
So one thing I would say is, always relating to the kids is not, it's a great thing to do. But always make sure, and establish that, of course, there's a professional line to be drawn between teacher and student. And at the end of the day, make sure that obviously, your role as a teacher, your first thing is to, make sure that you're giving them the skills, or, whatever you teach, giving them the skills that they need. And just, like I said, you have to tap into every student, and you can't be, it's not like a blanket thing where one size fits all, and it's difficult, but if you really want to get the most out of your students, that's the way to go. Find out what works for them.
Every student's unique.
Yeah, everyone.
So you didn't grow up here. You're fairly new to Lee County. Had you ever visited here growing up, or is this you 3 years ago you came here for a job, and that was your first experience here?
Actually, I had friends that lived here in Fort Myers, and so I visited.
Okay, so you knew the area a little bit. All right.
A little.
You like it here?
I love it. Belgrade is a small city, and this is very small, and so this is like a good in between. Yeah. It's not too crazy, but at the same time, it has everything that I need. So
yeah, and I like it. Like you said, it's not too big or too crazy like Miami, or but you're close enough to Miami or Tampa. Just a 2-hour drive either way. If you want to go to a bigger city on a weekend or something, you can do that. So, is there anything about teaching that surprised you? Like, oh man, I didn't think it was gonna be. I didn't expect that, or I know you can't. This is the school district podcast,
yes.
So. But anything you can share, you think? Anything that took you off guard or anything like that?
Honestly, what took me off guard, to be honest, was the impact that I made on students. And not to sound cliche once again, but honestly, when at the end of the year, or kind of at some point during the year, some of those students, they'll have like a breakthrough, or and they'll just say, Mr. Morrison, you really helped me with this, or like, I really love your class because of this. And, that was really the biggest thing. I didn't know how like some of the smallest things would just feel so rewarding for me. I thought, I really thought that, especially starting out initially, that it was going to be like, oh, they're going to be like, oh, I'm coming here for my grade and I'm trying to leave. But you have a bigger impact. Like, I didn't see how much, I didn't go in knowing that it was going to be that big of an impact.
That's cool. Yeah. You mentioned earlier, you said you have 2 sisters?
Yes, I do.
Are they computer engineers right now? Or?
Yeah, so one do database analysis, and the other does computer information systems. Computer information systems, I believe.
That's cool. Do you have other siblings?
Oh no, just 2 older sisters.
Okay, are you the young
Yeah.
Yeah, you're the youngin.
Yeah.
So you work at Eastleigh County. I've been out there a few times. Seems like a great school. What would you want people to know about Eastleigh that they might not? If people don't know much about the school, what would you want them to know about the culture there, or what it's like to work there, or what the students?
It's a great school. We're doing a lot of great things out there, and love the students. The students are amazing. That's pretty much it.
All right. Anything else you want to talk about before we go to the final 5 questions?
I'm good.
Ready to go? All right.
Yeah.
Charles, what's your favorite book?
So one of my favorite books was actually given to me by one of my favorite teachers, and she told me, and she was a history teacher, and she told me to read it, and it was the autobiography of an ex-colored man, and that is still a favorite book.
Autobiography of who?
Of an ex-colored man.
Oh, an ex-colored man. Okay.
Yeah.
What was it about that book that you really liked?
Because it dove into it's fictional, but it dove into the how he had an issue with being both white and black, and he didn't know really what side to identify with, and throughout life he used he used his white side to get through life, like through the hard parts of life, and then he talks about how he's looking back on his life and he felt the shame that he didn't recognize his black side, or didn't, kind of dismissed it and ignored it. And he talks about like how his life would have been different, and how maybe he could have helped some of his friends, because he did grow up with some African-American friends, and it was just a good book. It's just a good story.
Yeah. So this was somebody who was like of mixed racial?
Yeah,
okay.
He's biracial.
And what, do you remember the author's name?
James Johnson.
James Johnson. Okay. So this is a book that one of your teachers gave you or told you about?
Yeah.
How old were you when?
I was in high school, so.
All right. Well, that's cool. I mean, I love when people recommend books, especially, ones that you end up falling in love with. Okay, what's your favorite movie or TV show?
Saving Private Ryan is my favorite movie.
That's a good movie. Yeah. I remember the first time I ever saw it, it was they were airing it on TV, but they aired it like unedited on like network television. It was like ABC or something and they even had a guy presenting before the movie started, and he was like, we're airing this movie because it's, basically he's saying this is an amazing movie, and normally we don't air rated R movies unedited on network television in prime time, but because this movie is so important, we're going to air it unedited. And so I was still kind of young, but my parents let me watch it, and I remember those first 15 minutes are so intense. Why do you like that movie so much?
I love war movies.
Yeah, me too.
I love them, and that was I believe it's one of the best. One of the best.
Have you seen the trailer? There's a new Midway. Have you seen the trailer for that? It's a new movie coming out. It doesn't look that good. A lot of CGI. It's about the Battle of Midway in World War II, and every plane and ship looks like it's computerized in the movie. And it's like, I like practical effects. Anyway, that's a great movie though. I love Saving Private Ryan. Probably my favorite war movie. Yeah, for sure. All right, who's your favorite? Do you have a favorite song or a favorite musical artist?
I would say maybe Chance the Rapper.
Yeah?
Chance the Rapper. Yeah, he's good. Pretty good.
All right. Okay, so normally I ask people what their favorite subject in school is growing up. I'm assuming it was history.
It was history.
Aside from history, did you have a subject that you really liked learning about?
Math was the next step.
Mm-hmm. What about, do you remember what it was about history that just connected with you?
Honestly, I think it was the teachers.
Yeah?
Honestly, I think it was the teachers. Starting out, initially it was the teachers. And then I just fell in love with the content. I was always interested about when we'll learn something, I'd be like, dang, I wonder why that happened. But yeah, I was truly interested in it.
Is there a memory that sticks out in your mind? Like, was it ever since learning about history in kindergarten or first grade? Or was there like a specific time period that you learned about that really got you going into history?
I know it started in high school, my ninth grade year.
Okay.
My ninth grade year.
And what were you learning about in ninth grade that?
So it was AP Human Geography. So it was very broad, kind of.
Yeah.
But I remember I had this teacher, forgot his name, but I had this teacher. He served in the military, and he was just telling me, like, about how he met all these people of different backgrounds, and how if he didn't know about history, he would have been very naive to a lot of the customs and traditions. And I don't know, for some reason I don't know, I really don't remember, but it kind of stuck, and I was like, oh man.
Yeah. History was always my favorite subject in school growing up too. It's probably why we've had so many social studies teachers on the podcast, because I just love talking about history. And there's a lot of emphasis on the STEM subjects in school, which obviously are very important, but I feel like sometimes people underestimate how important learning about history is, because if you're naive to history, you're bound to repeat some mistakes that have happened in the past if you're not aware of the past and what went wrong and what went right, and what the good ideas were and what the bad ideas were. Okay, so if you could have dinner with anyone living or dead, who would it be and why?
So I probably would say my family member, like one of my cousins passed away, and I just never. My sisters they had stories with him, and I just never got to know him, and so I think that would be a good opportunity.
Right. Okay. What's next for you, man? Are you do you have 10 years from now, 20 years from now, where do you see yourself?
Teaching. Honestly, that's the goal. I'll still be teaching history, and hopefully becoming better every year.
All right.
That's the goal.
Good luck with your future, and we appreciate you coming on the podcast.
Thank you.
And congratulations again on your award.
Thank you.
Keep up the good work at East. Charles Morrison, U.S. and African American history teacher at East Lee County High School. Thank you again for coming on the podcast. It was fun.
Thank you for having me.
All right, and thank you for watching and listening. We'll see you next time.